This is something I've actually been calling my cat Anastasia for 5 weeks now, and it's just wishful thinking. So I want to tell you the story of how we got here. I'll start off with long story short, and then I'll actually get into the longer story, in case you wanted to skip through that. But yeah, so the reason that I wanted her to get pregnant is because I am obsessed with the British short hairs now. I absolutely love their coat. That was just Una Chin Riley running around in the back. And honestly, I feel like I don't like to play favorites. I really don't. But she is safely, yeah, there's just, yeah, I'm not gonna say more because it's not fair to my other cats. And I love all of my cats. Like, I love them all. I've never liked the idea of playing favorites, so I'm not gonna go there. But the gist of it is she's expensive, right? If you've ever looked up buying any kind of like purebred cat, they're expensive. And this was actually my way of getting more of her without, you know, spending all that money to get her. So this was the reason we decided to get her mama, Anastasia, pregnant. God, sorry, I kicked the camera stand and I like totally feel like threw it out of whack. So sorry if the scene looks a little different. But yeah, this is the reason we decided to get her mom pregnant. And I'm gonna go into the long story now. So if you wanna skip straight to if she's pregnant or not, you go ahead and do that right now. I'll put the timestamp and there you go. Because there is more to the story that I would like to talk about, but I know not everyone cares to hear it. So skip on if you want. So, long story people, hi. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like it's a good story and I do want to share it. It's also sad, very sad story. I don't know why I said it was like good. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. So it starts with my decision to adopt these cats, and I had been finishing my downstairs basement for a good part of a year, and I kind of felt like, ooh, you know what? I deserve like a cat I've always wanted, right? So I do that. And I know we have too many cats and I'm scared to like ask Chris about that. But you know, he gets on board with that idea because it's been me and my dad really working down there. Chris has been working there too. But for the most part, it's been me and my dad. And I don't know, I weaseled my way into making it like my reward. What happened was I was looking on Instagram and there's a lot of like places overseas that sell really gorgeous purebred cats. And I fell in love with this 4-year-old British long-hair named Romy. And she was stunning. Gorgeous orange eyes. It contrasted so beautifully with the black hair. And I was in love. I was so in love. And when I told Chris about it, he was like, I thought you were gonna get a kitten, right? Because he was like, I'm okay with kittens because when we got our Maine Coons, they were kind of big, right? So it was exciting, the idea of getting a smaller cat. Because we haven't ever raised a kitten together. And I was like, I know, but I love her. I did this weird compromise that he didn't love, but he totally accepted. And that was, I'll get a kitten with Romy, right? So her original name was Buna de Luna. And Buna was adorable. She was a lilac British short hair. It wasn't the steel gray kind of, or steel blue British short hair that I've always wanted. I always imagined like a really gorgeous gray with the orange eyes. And obviously both of these cats, they didn't fit that, but they were gorgeous. And Buna had the best personality, right? The place was talking about keeping her because they loved her so much and she was perfect. She had the smallest ears and the most gorgeous fur. And I was like, oh my God, you're really just like selling me on this cat by telling me you want to keep this cat. So what ended up happening is it was only her brother left and they were going to keep her. And I was like, you know what? Can I have her? Can I keep her? Can I have Buna as well? And she, at first, offered me JC, who we now call Anastasia. And she said, this is Romy's best friend. She's 2 years old. Would you rather have her so they could stay together? Now, this kind of wrecked me for a little bit because the idea of splitting up cats that love each other hurts me a lot. A lot. I didn't like that. I wish she had never told me because I knew that I had to get a kitten, right? If the only other alternative to this situation was me getting all 3 cats, and that just, while it was something I considered for a little while, it wasn't gonna happen. So I ended up saying no after talking to Chris, and I got the 2, right? So when they got here, I went to go pick them up at the airport. They almost gave me, the carrier people tried to convince me that it was a different cat that I was supposed to be getting, right? It was like this tortoiseshell short hair that was in the same carrier as Buna. They had a huge like dog crate carrier. And I was like, yeah, this tort is not my cat. Like my cat's black. Like black and long haired and looks nothing like that. So I was like looking in the carriers and I was like, this is my cat. This tiny carrier was holding my 4-year-old adult cat. And I was like super annoyed at the situation. She had to like contact like the other guy that works with her and like confirm that I was right. And it was a really annoying situation because my heart shattered because I honestly thought she wasn't even there, like at all. I thought they had like forgot to bring her, and I was just devastated for a hot minute there because she was the one I wanted, right? The kitten, I was just gonna like, while it was still gonna be my cat, it was gonna be like Chris's cat, you know? He was gonna enjoy her kittenhood. And I spent every day for months looking at my phone's background of a picture of Romy and just falling in love with my girl, right? Kittens are so easy to love, and I wanted to make sure I felt so much love for Romy when she got here because I didn't want her to feel neglected at all because obviously a kitten was going to get a ton of attention, and I wanted to just show her right away how much I loved her. So that was painful. And then I sat in the back seat with them while Chris drove us home, and it was wonderful. Romy was just walking around. She was curious about the situation. Buna was just purring and being adorable and just snuggling into the blanket I had on the back seat. It was just such a like fun little situation. And then I noticed a few days later that Romy had loose stools. And I went to go get some tests done to make sure she was okay and things like that. Honestly, that kind of period I've blocked out a little bit. I can't even remember how it all started. But what ended up happening is her abdomen kept enlarging. And I was thinking, you know, she was so skinny and she was so matted. I was so disappointed in the place that I adopted her from that they would give me this matted cat, like they didn't even groom her before like they brought her here. I felt so bad for her because they must have been so painful, right? So over time it kept getting larger and I'm thinking, okay, she's gaining weight, this is great. And then it just felt strange and it was getting too large and happening too fast. Eventually it got to the point where it was so large when she would lay down, her legs would bow out. Obviously I had been taking her to the vet before that point. I had like an ultrasound done. The ultrasound technician told me that he had never seen this because she had a few different things and they thought that it didn't make sense because there was just too many different things going on and they just couldn't pinpoint one issue and they didn't really know why her abdomen was this way. They knew she had an enlarged biliary duct system, and so I ended up making an appointment with a specialist. I went to the specialist, they did a lot of tests. In the end, they couldn't exactly tell me what was wrong with her. And the whole time I've been wanting someone to to drain the fluid out, right? Because we knew there was fluid buildup and it looked so painful. And I took her back again to the ER. The only other thing to do was to do an invasive surgery where she probably wouldn't live, you know, find out what it could be. They were thinking maybe cancer, but they weren't 100% sure. And I was like, okay. So I was like, let me bring her to the ER again. And it was a different ER doctor this time, or specialist, should I say not. I was like, let me bring her to the specialist again. It was a different specialist this time because the other one was on vacation. She didn't want to do the procedure because she felt like she definitely wouldn't make it. She did more tests to like kind of verify her condition, didn't find out anything new. And then I asked them to, you know, get some fluid out because I feel like it looked like a balloon that was inflated too much and it felt like she was gonna pop and it had to be so painful. And I feel like I inadvertently killed her by doing this because they drained the fluid and she felt so much better. But the next day, she felt different. She felt done. She looked so defeated. And I can't remember if it was exactly that next day or the day after, but I knew the day she was going to pass away. I felt it. I even called the specialist and was like, get me the surgery scheduled. I want to have the surgery because I was kind of panicking at that point. But then that same day, I ended up emailing them and saying, cancel it. She's not going to make it through the night. I know this. You know, I know this. I was just holding on and grasping for straws at that point. And she did. She passed away that very night. I felt it. I went to a different room because I needed a moment to gather myself before I came back to her. And when I did come back, she was gone. I got to hold her for the first time that day. You know, she was so weak. She let me hold her. I had her wrapped up in a blanket against me. I said that I was like, I've never even held you, you know? You've never felt well. And I never got to hold you. So I really wanted to hold her, and I did. And it was really nice. And Buna came over and laid on my chest, and we just all cuddled together. And that was earlier that day. About a week before she passed, Anastasia was supposed to get here. I thought bringing her best friend over would be a source of comfort, and they got into a car accident on the way to the airport a week before, and they weren't able to make it. And because of that, she never got to see her best friend again. But I spoiled her as much as possible, and I never felt like she felt alone. I could tell like she loved me, and that felt good enough. And in the end, I felt that it was probably better for Anna that she hadn't seen her that way, because I'm sure she was a lot healthier. I don't know for sure. When she was at the cattery, I feel like bringing her over just to watch her best friend die would have been really devastating for her. So in the end, maybe it was a blessing that they weren't able to make it. Sorry, I took a little break there. I feel like I don't even know what to say after this because my mind just goes blank. I don't know how to talk about stuff like that without getting emotional. I feel like I'm supposed to be like collected and composed, like talking on here. I don't know how to like do that. Romy, who I called Romulus, who I called Rome. Damn, that one just hurt. I wanted a carbon copy of her, right? I wanted exactly a cat, just like her. It wasn't rational. It was coming from a place that I wanted a female British Shorthair cat that was very Persian looking like her and would be named exactly the same. And I found out upon my search of that, it is very rare to get a British in black. So that just wasn't gonna happen. And I shouldn't be trying to replace her anyway. In a way, like, you kind of hope their spirit goes into the animal that looks like them, right? But that's not how it works. So that was just my hope. I ended up really loving her and Buna so much that I was really certain I wanted Una, who I call her now, is Una Chin Riley, after a Star Trek officer from the original series. In the original episode 1, the number 1 or first officer is named Una Chin Riley. And if you watch Strange New Worlds, you see a lot of her, and we're absolutely obsessed. And it was actually kind of accidental because we called her Una, so short for Buna, for the longest time, because I really wanted to name her Luna, but my mom already had stolen that name for one of her dogs. So I felt like, I can't name her Luna, even though I love that name so much. So we're just gonna call her Una for now. And one day, she was being a bad girl, and I was like, Una Chin Riley. And I was like, where's that from? And I was like, oh my God, is that like the full name of number 1? And it was. And I was like, I must have just knew that subconsciously. And I was like, that's perfect. Her name's Una Chin Riley. Like, how much more perfect could it get? She's my little queen, She's so perfect, and I wanted her babies. I wanted her babies so bad. And then her first heat cycle came, and it was unbearable. She cried so much. Her booty was constantly up. You could tell she was in a lot of discomfort. It was actually pretty horrific. And I just made the decision during her first heat to spay her because I couldn't do it to her. I was just like, I love this cat so much. I cannot have her feeling this way. It just hurt me way too much to see her like this. I love her way more than the thought of having more babies. That was stupid. What ended up happening is when the decision was made to get Anna, I was like, maybe I'll have her have kittens. I mean, she is the queen that produced Una Chin Riley, right? Like, how much better could that be? Like, she was her actual mother. And I was really excited about the idea. And when she came, her heat was bearable. She would cry all night. That part really sucked. She rarely ever put her butt up. She seemed pretty chill about it. For a time, I almost thought I didn't even think it was heat. I actually had to contact the cattery because she was crying so much. I was like, I think she misses home. Like, I feel bad. I don't know what to do. Because she had been with them for years, and the idea of them giving away their queens is heartbreaking to me, and she was only 2 years old. It was a really early retirement, and the cattery lady always referred to her as her cuddly doll, and that just broke my heart because clearly this cat really loved you, right? And so it just made me really sad. And I thought she was just moaning all night looking for her mama, right? Well, it turns out she is supposed to be a very quiet girl, and if she's crying like that, she's in heat, is what the cattery said. And that thought hadn't occurred to me because she didn't really display the other symptoms. So I was like, oh, right, she's not spayed. Okay. I was like, we can do this. And for months, I went back and forth because I had never had a cat adoption go the way that it went with her. And that is, she was untrusting of us so completely. She wanted nothing to do with us. She would occasionally come for a little comfort and then be like, okay, we're done and I'm running away from you at any time you try to approach me. She loved the cats, immediately was obsessed with the cats, was just like, hello family, I'm so excited to be here. Loved the cats, right? Not the humans. And it wasn't probably until literally the week before we decided to take her on her little adventure that she displayed a lot of affection toward us. Seemed like she finally trusted us. I was actually really scared to take her at that point because I was like, frick, I would have had 2 months to try to gain her trust while she was pregnant. She trusts me now, and I'm totally taking her out of the house to a different house so she can be essentially forced into doing the do with a male cat. And I felt really bad about that because, you know, I learned about like what goes into like doing that, and it just seems so incredibly painful for the female cat. And I don't know, it was just sad. And for months before then, it was like weighing on me. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this to her? I hated the idea, you know, it really sucked. And I didn't want her to get hurt. I had come in contact with someone who lives like right next to New York on the New Jersey side, but basically New York. They're just a little body of water that splits between them. She's like 2.5 hours away, I believe. She was so sweet. And her name is Vera. She has a cat named Misha. And she was looking to have Misha's, you know, Misha's kid. And she's like, I love Misha so much. I want another one. And I was like, yes, we're like in the same boat, you know, like we both just want our cat's kids. And I'll definitely talk about what we would do if there was like a large litter, like in a later video, because I think I'll just go into all the stipulations. Like, I think it might be fun to go into kind of like our little contract that we made up between Vera and I, like our the breeding contract, and kind of go into like these scenarios and what exactly would happen. But before I really get into that, we need to find out if she's pregnant, you know? So it was only that one time she spent a week there and she was not in heat for the majority of that week. I was really scared. The entire time she lived with us, I don't think she ever got a break from her heat. And literally the week before we took her to Vera's, she was not in heat. And I was like, crap, it's like coming to be fall time. Is she like stopping her heat cycle? Vera assured me, she's like, you know what? No, she needs a break. She's probably just taking a break. And I'm like, okay, she's on a break, obviously. Literally the day before we take her, she starts vocalizing very loudly. So I'm like, oh, she's in heat. It's fine. I take her there. Girl doesn't want to do the do. Uninterested, right? So clearly not in heat, like I had hoped. Eventually, she did get in heat, and it was like 2 days before I had picked her up. They only did the do for like one whole day, but it was like all day and all night. It was like that on a Saturday. I think she was like, it was like 30 times, right? It was like insane. And I've seen like video clips, and Anna seems so, I don't know, like she seemed to enjoy the relief that it gave her. So I was surprised at that. Like, she screamed the moment, like, it happened, but then afterwards she was like, cool. It was interesting. She was like rolling around at a discomfort, but then she would like go up to him and be like, hey lover, you know? So clearly if you do it 30 times, you don't hate it. It sucks, but it's not the worst, right? And it's in their like instinct to do it. So I felt a lot better. And what really sucked is that when I dropped her off, I felt so sick. I was in such like turmoil emotionally about leaving her because this decision I had been racking with for so long, whether I even wanted to do this to her, like subject her to it. And it was just like eating me up. And it really thrilled me when Vera finally told me that they were like boyfriend, girlfriend after a couple days. Like, they were cool, they were hanging out together, they weren't doing anything, but they were friendly, right? And I was like, thank God. I was scared she'd be like cowering under a bed somewhere, crying, wondering why, you know? So really dramatic. The reason I'm not 100% sure that she is pregnant is because I was really worried based on the videos. It took a while for it to become successful, and I felt like he didn't stay in too long, and I was worried that that wasn't enough like time for her to get pregnant. And then her winter coat started growing in around like as soon as she got home, her winter coat started growing. So she looks like a bushy lion right now, right? So she's either like all fur or she has some kind of belly and some kind of weight gain and is a ton of fur. Because you reach in and that is just hair. And oh my God, her winter coat is beautiful, but you cannot really like know for sure that she's pregnant. I will say she has not gone into heat since she's been back, but it is cooler out, and I was worried before she left that her heat was dying down, so that might have just been the end of her heat cycle. I'm hoping it was because she got pregnant, and so she no longer has that heat cycle. What else? She doesn't cry around the house anymore, which is great. She's a total sweetheart. I personally think that she is pregnant, and I feel like very good reasons for this. I have been monitoring her every week very closely. And I've definitely noticed the changes. If there's a confirmation that she is pregnant, I am going to go into it in a different video where I do talk about what it's like for a cat to be pregnant during week 4, 5, 6, stuff like that. But right now, I don't know that she is pregnant. So if I'm like, oh, this is what a cat is like during this pregnancy week, that could just be like false information, right? I don't even know if that's if she is for sure, because she hasn't been to a vet yet. My vet was booked out for the longest time. Right now, if she is pregnant, we would be in the beginning of week 6. So the vet should be able to tell now if she is or isn't. There is a lot of hair there. It concerns me. At like 55 days, her babies will have calcified enough that she can get an x-ray for us to tell how many babies she would have. This I do want to do because we're having the birth here at home, right? And I want to know if all those kittens are out or if there's someone in there that I don't know is stuck or something like that, and I have to bring her to the emergency. And I feel like that's like just really important for me to know. I just would die if anything happened to her because of me subjecting her to this experience. So she's been a mother twice already. I'm hoping that everything goes smoothly because she kind of knows what to do as well. I am prepared on my side as well, and I will also go into that in a different video. Well, basically what I did to get prepared. Right now, we're about to leave to the vet, and we're gonna find out if this girl's pregnant or not. I'm really hoping she is. I've been like 99% sure she's pregnant for like a few weeks now. So in my mind, she is, and I just keep calling her Prego. And if she's not pregnant, I don't know what I'll do with myself. You know, like she feels pregnant. I feel like instinctually she's pregnant. Like I know she's pregnant. And I had the scariest thought the other day because I was like, her abdomen swelling. Is it going to be like, what if this is like the Romy situation? And that terrified me. So I don't know what I'll do with myself if she's not. But I'm fairly certain she is. And we're gonna go now, and I'm gonna relay that information back to you when we get back. And then she pretty much started growing her winter coat immediately after, so it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, her belly is definitely
rounded.
It's
prominent.
And there are some areas where it feels like there may be like some little tubular fluid that I can feel, which could be a uterus that has things in it for her. So typically when I did my calculation, she's about like 35 days out, I think, from like breeding, somewhere in there. And typically around like 44 days is when x-rays start to show. Somewhere like 50 days is kind of like sweet spot for like x-rays, and also being able to estimate litter size too. And at that stage, the x-rays are not damaging to the babies. So it's not going to cause.
That's why I had scheduled that just in case for November 4th.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that was already scheduled.
Okay. Look at you. I love that. But I do feel like there's some things developing in here. So I am optimistic.
You like that, huh?
And I mean, she doesn't have any mammary developing yet, but she shouldn't. So that should start to happen closer to the time of development. I do think her belly feels rounded. I do feel some fluid-filled structures in there, which I'm hoping are little fetal sacs that are developing in her uterus. So
okay, so we just got home. If you watch that video, you will know that we are not 100% certain whether she's pregnant or not. I'm a little bummed out at the lack of certainty because I was reading online that they should be able to tell if they're pregnant by feeling her at, a certain amount of time into pregnancy, which at this point she'd be in like her 6th week. So that kind of sucks. But she's cautiously optimistic. She's gained 2 whole pounds, which is crazy. And she does have swelling down in the abdomen area. She did feel some fluid sacs in there, which may or may not be the babies, but most likely are. I personally think with all the symptoms we've had that are just kind of aligning with the moment that she did do the nasty with Misha, I feel like it would be too much of a coincidence for that to all like happen in like the weeks that it should be happening. So I'm pretty confident again that we are pregnant. The doctor is very optimistic. One of the receptionists like congratulated me when I was leaving, so I was like, is she more optimistic than I think she is? Because when I hear cautiously optimistic, that means probably, we don't know, but most likely. And so it was just weird to be congratulated, but it was kind of nice, and it kind of got my spirits up a little bit to be congratulated. We do have an appointment on November 4th, so in a couple weeks, and I will be officially announcing if she's pregnant or not in that video. And we would also find out how many kittens she's having. So they did ask me if I wanted to do an x-ray today, and I told them no, she's just not far enough along for me to feel comfortable. It's actually a lot better if after the 50-day mark you do the x-ray, because the kittens have calcified enough that it's safer for them, and I am not risking the kittens or anything like that. So I would rather, like, I was thinking in my head before they walked in, and I was like, if they asked me to shave her belly to like be able to feel better, I would say no, and I would wait for the x-ray as well. And I also have a good reason for that, and that's because the kittens rely on the hair around the belly, and you shouldn't actually shave it because she'll naturally lose hairs around her nipples anyway, but not so much that the kittens can't get warmth from her, and they do rely on that hair for warmth. So I don't want to go about this in any wrong way. Like, I'm pretty like confident about how I want to go about these steps. It sucks we couldn't get a definitive answer, but I'm kind of taking you along with me. So this was literally like, I have been waiting for this appointment for weeks, and today was supposed to be the day that I thought I was finding out if she was pregnant or not. And my answer is probably, most likely, cautiously optimistic. Thank you so much for watching. I wish I had more to offer in that realm, but I'm really excited going forward to see like what happens. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.